Presidential elections are unique in that way more money is spent on them than any other level election. Billions of dollars are spent financing presidential campaigns during the primary and general election seasons. And that money goes towards all sorts of things, but sort of some of the big ones are advertising. So, our paid media, right? Our campaign ads. It costs a lot of money to make an ad and to air it, right? Because you have to buy ad time just like you would if you were selling a product. And we definitely see a lot of money get spent on get out the vote activities and other outreach. So calling voters, engaging with them, that has costs money, right? You've got to hire people to do that and write scripts for the people making phone calls, even if they are volunteers. And that can take money. You've got to poll. Polling and focus groups are big expenses. As we've talked about, polling is really challenging. So it costs a lot of money to do it well because it is such a skill to do a good poll, to put a good poll in the field. And they're important because candidates, especially at the presidential level, really want to understand what people want and what the country wants and needs at that particular moment. And of course, you hire consultants, you hire staff, right? You're going to have lots of people working for you. And then you're also going to hire specialists, consultants for your advertisements, people who can, organize filming them, right? Who are specialists in writing these scripts, who are polling specialists, people who can put on focus groups, right? You're going to hire all these people, whether it's on your staff or as consultants. And of course, all campaigns have some level of all of these things. But presidential campaigns, because they are for the highest office in the land and they are national, just have a lot more of this. Now, that sort of hints that money is important, right? You have to have money to run an election, right? If you don't have money, you can't buy advertisements, you can't run polls, you can't do any of that. So money is absolutely necessary for an election. But does money guarantee success? No. You can spend more money than anyone else and still lose. So the idea really is you have to have enough money to actually run a campaign and to mount one. But having more money doesn't always mean you'll win. Having less money doesn't always mean you'll lose. As long as you have enough to run a good campaign, there are other elements, right? Maybe you make really bad strategic choices when you're running your campaign. Maybe you're just really unlikable, right? All sorts of different things can contribute to you losing. But you do need the money to get in the door in the first place, to get that campaign off the ground in the first place. So money is necessary, but not sufficient. Now, I note on the slide here that money is really important during primary campaigns. Why do you think that is? Well, because primary campaigns are within a single party. So with a general election, you have candidates from two different parties running against each other. So people can use party cues to vote. And we know that party cues are a really reliable predictor of how people are going to vote. But in a primary election, because you're running just against other members of your own party, people don't have the party cue. So it means that information costs are much, much higher for voters in a primary election. Because they actually have to learn about you, not just know what party you're a member of and call it a day. So it helps if you have money, you can run advertisements, you can reach out to the voters and therefore reduce thereby reduce their information costs. So that is why money, while still very important in the general election, is even more important in primary campaigns, because you as a candidate having money helps reduce costs for the voters by allowing you to reach out and give information to the voters through things like campaign direct mail, and political advertisements on television and radio. By doing these things, you are reducing information costs for voters during a very high cost election. And again, when I'm using cost here, I don't just mean monetary cost, right? High cost is in high information costs and high effort for voters. So money is necessary, but even in these campaigns, still not sufficient. If you outspend your opponents, doesn't mean you're going to win. For example, in the 2020 elections, former Mayor Michael Bloomberg spent a ton of money, obscene amounts of his own money on the campaign, and he did not do well, right? He did very badly in the Democratic and presidential primaries. So money isn't sufficient for winning, but it was necessary. If he'd had no money, he wouldn't have even had a campaign. So in any stage of the election, money is necessary